Thanks for tuning in to Where You Live. I'm Fallon Wagner, and today we're at Core Elements here in Lethbridge, and we're talking about aerial yoga, something a little bit newer here to Lethbridge, and Sarah joins us to tell us all about aerial yoga. Thanks for joining us, Sarah. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So let's start off by talking about what aerial yoga is for maybe someone who's never witnessed it before.
Okay, well, I guess the biggest obvious comparison between aerial yoga and your regular yoga is we're using a silk hammock as a prop. So whereas it differs where there are styles of aerial that are like more of a circus performance, which are two silks that hang from the ceiling, this is a hammock it's fairly low to the ground. So we hang predominantly, there's lots of different hangs, but predominantly from our hips. And we're using it to give yourself a different perspective within the yoga practice, creating space, and just drawing your awareness to things that you might not usually recognize within your regular practice.
That's very cool. And now, where did this type of aerial yoga originate from?
There's lots of different schools of aerial yoga, and it is still a fairly new style of practice. The teachers that we have teaching here, there's a range of different styles. Aerial yoga originally came from New York, and I believe his name was Christopher Harrison. But I mean, there's been so many different like branches of that since. Yeah. So yeah.
And a lot of times, you know, yoga is kind of about opening the mind, opening the body. Is that still what the goal of this type of yoga is? Is there anything a little bit different that they're trying to achieve if you attend an aerial yoga class?
So once again, this sort of comes into the different styles of aerial yoga that there is. So there is a slightly more acrobatic, playful practice, which, you know, you can still definitely have a very mindful attitude towards the practice. However, there are also, which we have here as well, practices that align a little bit more like your traditional yoga practice. So really mindful movement with the breath, attention to detail with when to move with the breath, and meditation within the silk as well. So absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And what got you into aerial yoga?
Aerial yoga or yoga? Or both?
Give me both.
Both? So, I mean, yoga was originally, it was just practicing. I created a regular practice during the wintertime. I needed some way to keep myself sane after coming from a really hot country to a really cold country, right? And I just fell in love with the practice right away. And then so I decided to become a teacher. Aerial yoga itself, like I was always really attracted to the idea of like airless sort of performance, but I wanted to be able to tie it into already teaching yoga like I was. And when I found out about aerial yoga, it was like, yeah, this is definitely something I wanted to do for sure. Mm-hmm.
Is there any sort of extra training that is involved with aerial yoga?
Yes, so to be a yoga teacher, it's usually a base 200 hours teacher training, and you need that to be able to teach aerial yoga. But then on top of that, you know, there's aerial yoga courses anywhere from 20 to 65 hours plus. So, you know, really depending on how deep and advanced you want to get into it, there's always more teacher trainings that you can do to adventure skills.
Mm-hmm. And the ladies behind us are very brave, and they're doing some pretty cool moves, we'll call it. Are there, do people often ask you for fear that the silks will break? Is that a question that you get a lot? That's definitely coming to my mind.
Yeah, they hold 3,000 pounds dynamic load, so I can promise you that we can put your whole camera team and all four of us in one silk and it wouldn't break. And they've all been specifically rigged in, designed by an engineer. So it's 100% safe. They are, and that's the biggest thing, is like building that trust with the silk. People, when you first come and practice, it can be a confronting experience. But once, just like everything, you start to practice and create a better understanding of yourself in relation to the silk and your weight distribution and how to stack your body, it all just starts to make sense.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. And are there any success stories or people who have tried aerial yoga, loved it, and kept coming back, and really kind of an inspiration to the team here?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, one of the biggest things that you see in particular is people's self-confidence for one. But there's one particular student that comes here for a fact. I know she had a really bad bursitis. She couldn't even cross her legs, but she's been coming and practicing several times a week, and her practice has improved substantially, but then her quality of life also, right? Because her, regular activities of daily living have improved.
Wow, that's awesome. And speaking on self-confidence, do you think that's something maybe exercise in general can do, but maybe yoga specifically can give you a new sense of self?
So, the yoga practice, aerial aside, but just like a regular yoga practice as well, it really draws your attention to not only just about like working out or getting stronger or fitter, but it gives you the opportunity to explore yourself and to create a better understanding of how to move your body, and you just create a better connection with yourself as well. So like creating that union, which essentially is what yoga is, between your body, your breath, and your mind, creates this really meditative response to the practice, and as a whole you just leave feeling great about yourself and about your body.
I love that. That's so great. What a great answer. And do you have any personal healthy lifestyle tips? I always love to ask anyone who's a fitness instructor involved in the fitness world at all. Do you have any personal health and lifestyle tips that you ever give out?
One of the big things is balance within what you do in your life, So you can get really, really good at one thing, but it's really important to keep things diverse and to keep active in things that you enjoy, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to maintain a regular active lifestyle if you're doing stuff that you don't find fun, which is one of the great things about aerial, is because it is fun, right? People want to come because it's fun. So find activities that you enjoy. Yeah, absolutely. And commit to it. If you say you're going to do something, then you owe it to yourself to do it, Yeah.
And I have to ask you, I think off camera talking, you said you're from Australia?
I am from Australia, yeah.
What do you, is the Canadian yoga scene quite big as compared to Australia? Are they both kind of on the same level with yoga?
You know what, I'd say they're fairly comparable. I find that bigger cities are going to have bigger yoga communities. But that's essentially one of the greatest things why people love yoga, is that sense of community, that sense of feeling like they belong, which is definitely what we try to advocate here at Core Elements, for sure. Mm-hmm.
And so you would say that there's a social aspect to attending yoga classes?
Absolutely, yeah. People that are coming regularly, they start to form friendships with the people that are also there, and they're bonding over something that they're both passionate about. So that's where that sense of belonging really comes from. Mm-hmm.
Great, I love that. Mm-hmm. And if someone was maybe interested in yoga or aerial yoga, but they're a little bit nervous to come out, intimidated maybe, what advice would you give them?
Within Lethbridge or within everywhere?
Let's say within everywhere.
Within everywhere. A really easy step is to just look at your local yoga studios that you have in the community and go around to a couple of different ones and just practice at a few different studios so that you can get a feel of if it's something that you feel comfortable doing, if you like their space, and you pick up pretty quick what sort of a practice resonates with you the best.
That's great advice. And if anyone's interested in finding out about classes here at Core Elements, is there somewhere they can go to find a schedule?
Yeah, www.coreelements.ca. All of the information about all of our classes, our teachers, the schedule, it's all up there. So it's super accessible for everyone. Or you can just come down and have a chat to us as well.
Awesome. Easy to get a hold of you guys then.
Yeah, most definitely.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add about yoga, Sarah, that I didn't touch on?
Oh, I think we're good. Yeah.
Thank you. After the break, we're going to be speaking with a participant of aerial yoga. Welcome back to Where You Live. Now we're speaking with Lisa, who's a participant of aerial yoga. We saw her back there showing off her moves, and they were pretty impressive, I gotta say, Lisa. I'm blown away. So how did you originally get involved with aerial yoga?
Well, honestly, through Sarah. So she invited us to a kind of a free tester class, when she was just starting to practice, and it was obviously a great way to get your foot in the door to open to a new experience. And so it really opened my eyes to what yoga could be, and it was so fun, and it pretty much exploded from there.
Awesome. And what kept you coming back? What do you love about aerial yoga?
I love that it's like easier and more difficult kind of at the same time. Like it's challenging things you didn't really consider within like your body, but it's also a lot more freeing, and like there's a lot more play involved as well. So like it's kind of that balance of something hard to work on, but also like an empty space to kind of flow.
I love that. And did you have a bit of a yoga background before you came here, or was this your first kick at the
like
can?
an intermediate sort of, yoga practicer. Like I've been kind of a community member through like pop-up yoga in Lethbridge before, and that was kind of my continual practice for the last like little while. But since Core Elements, since the introduction that Sarah gave us, it's been like a really great community at Core Elements. So it's really nice to be part of that, and it's so close to home, and like there's so many elements that make it ideal. So it's easy to come back.
And you find a social aspect too to the
I
classes?
do actually, and not really even like intentionally. Like it's interesting. Like Sarah mentioned before, like that community of like when you're building on something around people that you're also passionate about the same thing. So you almost like there's like letting down that initial guard that you already have like once you walk out the door and like in other social settings, right? Like it's such a space that you're doing mantras together, and like you're practicing together, and like you're becoming vulnerable with each other. So it's a really interesting social dynamic that you didn't realize that you knew so much about a person, or you didn't realize you like were so connected, but you are. And like it's like I look forward to coming to these classes to see these people.
Everyone's learning and growing together.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
It's awesome.
So what advice would you have for someone who's maybe wanting to try out aerial yoga or yoga in general, but maybe it's some reservations?
Well, I think the initial reservation with aerial yoga specifically is like the kind of the paradox that I think there is between the discomfort and the pushing it too far. Like there's the discomfort initially of the silk, and it's going to make it difficult to kind of fall into it or really like let go. And so you're always worried about that, but it also kind of it pulls you away from realizing like the pain you could be causing and things like that. So it's something to continue to do. So I mean, like any advice I would give is anyone doing aerial yoga is to give it a few tries, like to make sure that you're really committing to that silk before you like know what you're doing, I guess.
Absolutely. I think that's really good advice. And do you think maybe it sounds like you absolutely love aerial yoga?
Love aerial yoga.
And
I
that's
actually
so
love
awesome.
it.
And do you think that helps someone maybe get into a fitness routine if you really love what you do, instead of just maybe pounding the gym all the time?
Definitely. I would definitely say Core Elements is my main fitness routine, like coming here like 3 to 8 times a week. And so it's been like a really good place to do that. And it's so energizing, and like the atmosphere can be, it can be really wonderful. And a good way to push yourself, but in a playful way that I don't think like many other like fitness routines like have in that element, like unless like sport-wise, like aside, but doing personal and individual things, like the play is fun. Like it's a big swing, like what you're starting with something
What more
great.
could you want?
Yeah.
It brings out maybe a little bit of the childhood playground.
Definitely does, and that's a great
Awesome.
thing about it.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Lisa, so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for coming in and checking us out.
Absolutely. And after the break, I'm going to check out aerial yoga myself.
Yeah.
We're now here with Olivia, who's an instructor of aerial yoga at Core Elements, and she's going to show me some moves.
Yes, we're going to show you how to go upside down, actually.
Okay, I'm ready, ready as I'll ever be.
So for this one, it's called a Supta Baddha Konasana, inversion style. So I'm going to just get you to stand up, but you're going to be facing the back. So you can start with just holding on, and then just bring one foot into the silk, if you can. And then just kind of pull yourself up. If you swing a little bit, I'll stop you. Good. And then bring that other foot in beside. Good. And then you're just going to begin to allow your knees to come out towards the sides. So make sure the silk stays on the inside, so you're just behind the silk. Good. Yep. And then allow your legs to slide all the way down as much as you can. Good. And then you're going to begin to wedge one arm through, so catching behind your shoulder, and then the other. And then from here, I like to hold on to the silk on my sides. Good. And then it's like a trust fall. So you're going to allow yourself to fall forward. It'll catch you on your ankles and your groin. Good. And then once you're there, you can let go of your hands. So you can just leave your legs however they want to go. Good. How does that feel? Good. You can do a nice shoulder stretch from here too, interlacing your hands behind your back and kind of squeezing the palms together. That can feel nice. Good. All right. Totally. So once you go down, you have to come back up. Are you ready? Okay, so kind of the same way you came back in. So you're just going to see if you can reach your hands back behind you. So reach back onto the silk, and if you need a hand, we're just going to pull you up. And then just make sure that you stay holding on. Good. Good. And then you can just stand back up. Good. I think you did a great job. Awesome. Good job.
Well, thank you,
nice work.
Olivia, for showing me
You're
some
very
aerial
welcome.
Yoga. Come check it out here at Core Element.
So basically, Tranquility Float Center specializes in sensory deprivation. So what that entails is customers come in, we have basically, they look like a giant pod or a giant egg. They're filled with water and 1,100 pounds of Epsom salts. So once you get in there, you basically lay back, you float no problem, you can even sleep or nap in there. But basically the whole experience is providing a very deep state of relaxation. So it's great for stress relief, any kind of pain relief, because it's alleviating like that pressure off your joints, your muscles, and your bones. So float therapy has been around since the 1950s actually. And so that's where the research kind of started by a man named John C. Lilly. So he was conducting research in the US with basically the effects of sensory deprivation on humans. And so that's kind of how they came across all of the actual benefits. And then from there, it slowly kind of took off. You know, there's tons of float centers in the US, tons in Europe now, and it's just starting to get bigger in Canada now, especially in the bigger cities. So I would say when customers first come in, there are a few kind of hesitations or fears that do come up, because sensory deprivation can kind of be a negative term too. So for some people it entails like a really closed, dark space. You know, claustrophobia is the biggest question that comes up. But once we take people into the room, show them the actual pod, they see how big they are, you know, they can see that you can actually have lights on in there, you can have music on in there, you can even float with the pod open. So nowadays we can kind of, I guess, address a whole different customer base rather than just, because back in the day they were kind of like these coffin things you would jump in, but now it's more just relaxation, you know, how do you like to relax, music, lights, things like that. So float therapy kind of crossed my path because I started doing it up in Calgary actually. And so I saw a lot of personal benefit from it, just my overall health, mood, you know, energy levels, just drive for everyday life. And so float therapy personally just transformed my life, and so I thought bringing it to a community like Lethbridge would really help benefit people. You know, it's a smaller community, but it is the right size that it can basically sustain or maintain this type of population. Yeah, so we have actually quite a few customers who have had quite a bit of success with floating. Mainly it's pain relief, I would say. So we have a few customers who have come in the start who have been on heavy pain meds. And since they started floating, some of them have cut their pain meds in half or even totally gotten rid of them, just from a consistent schedule of floating. So cleanliness is a huge thing in customers' minds, but also in our minds. We want these pods to be very clean. We want the rooms to be very clean and sterile. So as far as the tanks go, we don't actually change the water over each customer because we put 1,100 pounds of salt in there, so we'd have to flip that every session. But basically the water runs through a filtration system and a UV light disinfecting system. And then we also put a little bit of hydrogen peroxide in the water, and then the salt alone creates an environment where bacteria can't really live or grow. So that combo has been very useful in the float industry, and it also means we don't have to use anything like chlorine or bromine, things like that. So Epsom salts alone is really good at relaxing the actual muscles, pulling out toxins from the body and reducing like inflammation. So honestly, just being in that water alone is very beneficial to your overall health. And even just your skin health, it helps moisturize it, so it's really good for that too. I would say floating in general, we get a lot of questions, who can benefit from floating, who is it going to be helpful to, right? And I would say floating is one of those things that can really benefit a wide range of people because there's so many different benefits that it kind of addresses. So our biggest thing is we just want to get people in to try it, right? And so if you are new to it, you are hesitant to it, honestly just come in, we'll give you a tour, we'll show you around the center, and then you'll have a better idea if this is going to be something that you would actually want to try out. Yeah, so basically you can find us online at tranquilityfloat.ca, or you can even give us a call at 403-329-0108.